The other day I was watching a live stream conversation between Marcus Pittman and Doug TenNapel. They were talking about AI and art. And I didn't agree with everything they were saying, but they gave me a lot to think about. In that first half hour, they reminded me of an idea from Marshall McLuhan about how new mediums develop. Starting out, the new medium's content comes from the form of the previous medium. So what does that mean? Let's start with the newspaper. So the newspaper is a pretty unique form. You have a bunch of different stories. They're all pretty short stories, and they cover all different topics on the same page. And they're all usually about events that have happened in the last few days, the last week or so. So that's the form of the newspaper. And then radio shows up. Actually, telegraph before that, but let's go with radio. And one of the early uses of the radio is to read those news stories on the air. And they're even shorter than the news articles themselves. We're talking about the top of the hour headline kinds of stuff. But it's the use of the current events, what's happening now, in a pretty short form, using headline, a little bit of description, and that's on the radio. What also came to the radio was theatrical productions, but they were audio only. But that developed into the radio drama. The classic example everyone's familiar with is the Orson Welles production of Invasion from Mars. Another kind of radio drama was the soap opera. Started as a radio drama and then went to television and survived on television for a long time. They're almost all gone now. There's a number of reasons why that is, but streaming is one of them. So the form of the radio drama actually, in some cases, came to television in a successful way. So that's what we mean by the form of an old medium becomes the content of the new medium. When a new medium shows up, people are trying to figure out what to do with it. They need something to work with, so they pull content from the previous medium. That's not where it ends up, though, because eventually that new medium has to develop a form of its own that's completely unique. So how do we apply this to AI? Well, what's AI doing right now? It's writing school essays, right? One of the kind of next steps in AI that Marcus and Doug pointed out were fan movies. People are talking about how AI films could replace Hollywood films, but what Marcus and Doug are pointing out is taking fan fiction, which up until now has almost entirely been text-based, and turning that into films made by fans who, can't hire a production crew and all that. And so it kind of leapfrogs into the current space of AI. But also, keep in mind, these are old forms as content for new mediums. So neither of those are what AI is going to be eventually used for and known for. It's not the unique form of AI. So what is that we're looking for? I'm not going to pretend to know. I gave up trying to make future predictions a long time ago. But I think it does give us a little bit of a clue of what we're looking for. It's going to be a new form of storytelling, new form of communicating and sharing ideas, and done in a way that's completely different from what's been done before, that can only be done by AI. So that's what we're looking for. If you have some ideas as to what that might be, put them in the comments below. I'd love to see some.